All right, you guys, it is Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni Day. Finally. I've been teasing that all week.
Hey guys, how you doing? I'm Pam. Today I'm reacting to Candace Owens taking down Blake Lively in this whole Baldoni lawsuit that's happening. Yeah, let's watch.
Let me just say to all of the women out there that are watching, no matter what you do in life, you never, ever, ever go full Amber Heard. All right, to begin, let's start with the end. The conclusion here, I have said this since before, long before this ever broke out between her and Justin Baldoni, that we have to compartmentalize. Blake Lively is not a good person. So no matter what happens in this lawsuit, no matter who wins in the end, do not let it distract you from the fact that she has proven herself not to be a kind person, okay?
Yes.
And that's largely due to the fact that she is a modern feminist, which means that she grew up wealthy, her life has been perfect, and so she has to create struggle where there just isn't any, okay? She has a track record of being difficult.
She can come and have some of my struggles if she wants.
We had already recapped this in an earlier episode from last year, but from Anna Kendrick, to Armie Hammer, who got fired from Gossip Girl because he said during a dinner that she was a bitch, to Leighton Meester, she has a very distinct working pattern. Primarily, people don't like to work with Blake Lively. I can also tell you personally, back when I was an intern at Glamour magazine, working under an editor, she said the most difficult person that she has ever worked with and the rudest person that she had ever worked with was Blake Lively, who got the cover of Glamour at some time when I was working at Glamour magazine. And so people just know this behind the scenes. You should just know that she is a bit of a brat.
A spoiled brat on top of it. Very beautiful, but if your inside is rotten, I don't know, it comes out.
I just saw her coming. Going back to what I said yesterday on the show about how my brain works, I always just notice weird things. I gave you guys that Men in Black analogy, that example rather, when Will Smith randomly shoots the 8-year-old while every other agent is shooting all of the aliens in the room. He's like, what's up with this 8-year-old? My brain works like that regarding Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds when I just recognize that they do things and say things that let me know, that signal to me that they are up on their high horses and that they potentially treat people very badly.
I am a big Ryan Reynolds fan, but now I'm like, okay, Ryan, no. Because of your wife, I need to change. Whatever.
Word and rich, right? One time while speaking to a reporter, Blake Lively said that her and Ryan Reynolds refer to bugs and animals as she and her, as opposed to he and him, to their young daughter, because they're raising a little feminist. Like, that's annoying. That's just objectively annoying. Another circumstance that made me see right through Ryan Reynolds and the kind of person that he is was when, despite being friends with Joe Alwyn, who dated Taylor Swift for 5 years, she's best friends with Blake Lively, he actually became friends with Joe Alwyn for 5 years of dating. And then Taylor Swift snapped her fingers, broke up with him, and the headline ran that, she went to dinner and got photographed with Blake and Ryan, and then immediately after the dinner, Ryan and Blake and two other of her friends, the Haim sisters and Gigi Hadid, all staged a mass unfollowing of Joe Alwyn, like they were 13 years old. Just let them know, we're on her side, we're ride or die for her. Okay, Ryan, you're 48 years old, grow up. Literally grow up. You can still follow your pal Joe Alwyn. That's not how people conduct themselves in a divorce. And to go get pictured before you do it, to show him I'm teen girl, pathetic, and also a little bit gay. Anyway, getting back to the Justin Baldoni thing, things sort of reached an inflection point for Blake Lively's reputation. While she was promoting the movie It Ends With Us, co-starring, like I said, Justin Baldoni. I can't tell you anything about him. I don't have an opinion on him. He's not as well known as her. He's not as A-list as her, as you would say, because she hangs out with Taylor Swift all the time. But we did become aware that there was a feud between the two and that they positively hated one another.
I wonder why. I wonder who has a reputation of being difficult to work with.
And these articles started leaking, really initially not in Justin's favor at first, basically saying that he had been inappropriate on TMZ, saying that he asked her about her weight and because he had to lift her for a scene. And when the public began to look into this, they actually ended up siding against Blake Lively. And it wasn't because of Justin Baldoni. It was because they didn't like the way she was answering questions on the red carpet.
I was a huge Blake Lively fan. Okay, I thought she was a nice girl until all of these things happened. I thought at the beginning, I thought it was him. It was his fault. But then, obviously, like Candace is saying, as things went along, you're like, okay, something is very wrong here.
About the film. Now, I've never seen the film. Apparently, it's about domestic violence. It's a serious topic. And Blake Lively was like promoting her hair products, and they just thought it was a bit tone deaf. And then the thing that really sent the internet a storm was when they dug into her past interviews and realized that Blake Lively is, well, not a very kind person, as feminists are not allowed to be, because they always just have to be a feminist. And apparently that means being mean to people that are interviewing you. And it was this clip that set the internet on fire of her being interviewed by Kirstie Flaw. And it's her sitting down with Parker Posey. Take a listen, it's hard to watch.
First of all, congrats on your little bump.
Congrats on your little bump.
What about my bump?
You've got two nice ones.
And they are kind of bumps, aren't they?
Horrible.
No, not bumps. The lovely lady lumps. Chicken.
And it's so obvious she's pregnant. It's not like, she's just a little bloated or whatever, and she already went public that she was pregnant. This is very stupid. I mean, honestly.
Like the movie? Are you a Woody Allen fan? I love most of his movies, and this one was so visually amazing. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Now, to remind you, aside from being weird, because she's saying something about her bump, like, congratulations, I'm pregnant, I would just answer that question normally, but obviously she's offended because she's a feminist, and you have to look to be offended. She was working on a film with Woody Allen. It was I think that was the Age of Adeline.
My goodness, getting offended for everything. You just sneeze. Ew! Oh, you're offending my space. You too close. I mean, why are people getting so offended over everything these days? My goodness. I mean, I know if you really get insulted or whatever, someone hurt your feelings, that's bad. But every little thing saying congratulations on your bump or you're pregnant or whatever, just calm down.
I never saw it. Point being is that it was a period piece, so the outfits were kind of amazing, as these period pieces tend to have really good outfits. And the woman, God forbid, asked her a question about the character and the character's outfits, and here's how Blake Lively responded to her.
Do you guys love wearing those kind of clothes that you...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And working in digital...
Everyone wants to talk about the clothes, but I wonder if they would ask the men about the clothes.
She's horrible.
I love Jesse's suits and hat.
That's what I'm saying. His wardrobe was beautiful. Corey's wardrobe was gorgeous. Those high-waisted pants.
Why?
So there it is. That's just modern feminism on steroids, where they just can't even think straight because they're perpetually offended and they're remarkably unlikable. So the internet started pulling out these clips, and suddenly there were these headlines, and people were just very upset with Blake Lively and started stringing together her pattern, okay?
Yeah.
So her reputation, you could say, last year completely tanked. And it didn't seem like it was going to be salvageable because...
Which was really her own fault. I mean, that was not Baldoni's fault. That was her being horrible to people and karma catching up with her.
Works. Once they start to see who you are, they don't tend to forgive you. But then suddenly, right before Christmas, on December 20th, Blake Lively filed a complaint against Justin Baldoni and other...
Which is very weird, because she should have just left it alone. I mean, people were actually starting to forget about the whole Baldoni, Blake Lively thing. She should have just let it go. But no, the ego is too big.
In California, claiming sexual harassment. She alleged that Justin Baldoni and producer Jamie Heath had really poor behavior on set, and that they organized that smear campaign against her during the promotion of the film, and that campaign caused her grief, fear, trauma, and extreme anxiety. That's all per the filing. And also that Baldoni was sort of a creep, that he had, quote, inserted improvised gratuitous sexual content and or scenes which involved nudity into the film, including for an underage character, in highly unsettling ways, okay? Now, I want to make something very clear to you. She filed a complaint at first, not a lawsuit. Okay, so on December 20th, she had filed a complaint with the Californian Civil Rights Department, alleging all of that stress and a hostile work environment, okay, you name it. But what's interesting is, despite filing this complaint, and despite this complaint supposed to be by California law. It was supposed to be completely private unless somebody, after they had investigated it, maybe filed an FOIA, they could have gotten a hold of it. She files it on December 20th, and lo and behold, on the 21st, the day after, somehow the New York Times gets a hold of it.
Oh, I wonder how that got out. Remember Amber Heard in the thing? Marks on the left side or right side or whatever. Wow.
Suddenly, the New York Times gets a hold of it, and they run the complaint in its entirety the day after, with an accompanying article, which was published the day after that, on December 22nd. So within 48 hours, New York Times got it, published it, and ran this headline, "We can bury anyone inside a Hollywood smear machine." You can see it says private messages detail an alleged campaign to tarnish Blake Lively after she accused Justin Baldoni of misconduct on the set of It Ends With Us.
Can I just ask, how did they get those emails? I'm just wondering. If anyone knows, please let me know. It's the detective in me. Detecting.
Sees this, and people are reading it. The New York Times is basically burying Justin Baldoni in this. They're saying they're releasing private emails between him and his PR team, and private emails amongst just the PR team, basically saying, as they quote, "We can bury anyone." And of course, just what Blake Lively would have expected, instantly Hollywood floods in. Me Too has been resurrected. They're giving statements. Amber Heard comes out of the woodwork and gives a statement.
Okay, why is Amber Heard getting involved? If Amber Heard is on your team, you must know you're on the wrong team. Okay? Blake, move away. Stop this lawsuit. It's not going to end well for you. Especially for you, because we all know that you are a mean girl. Okay?
Which I feel like after allegedly pooping on Johnny Depp's bed, she should maybe always sit this one out, but she didn't. She's like, nope, I'm with her. We're all with her. But actually, quite remarkably, the internet for the first time had a bit of pause. And one of the things that they had a bit of pause about was, why did she not file a lawsuit? If this is all true, why did Blake Lively not file a lawsuit? And instead kind of went to a civil rights private thing and then gave it to the New York Times. I mean, they're alleging she gave it to the New York Times. I don't know who else could have.
I don't even think she was planning on doing a lawsuit. This was all just to get her reputation back. But if your reputation has been tainted already, there's nothing you can do. So now she's kind of trapped. She has to go forward with the lawsuit. I mean, I know nothing about law, whatever, but that's just what it looks like to me. So,
or anyone on his team gave it to her, and they started to ask the question, was this actually just a way to salvage her reputation? They were not sure, but I want to show you what is in this lawsuit, because it's super interesting, okay? So like I said, the entire point of this lawsuit, when you read through it, and I did, basically just makes Justin Baldoni sound like a massive perv. Like he just loves sex, he loves pornography, he's just like some super turned on dude all the time who can't stop talking about pornography, and he was trying to get basically Blake Lively into these compromising positions because I guess maybe he just wanted to see her naked.
And goodness. You know what? I don't even think maybe this guy was even into her. And I think he's probably the only guy who hasn't been into her, and this maybe bruised her little ego. What do you think?
From a lawsuit, to add insult to injury, Mr. Heath, that's the other director, approached Ms. Lively and her assistant on set and started playing a video of a fully nude woman with her legs spread apart. Ms. Lively thought that he was showing her pornography, and she stopped him. Mr. Heath explained that the video was his wife giving birth. Ms. Lively was alarmed and asked Mr. Heath if his wife knew that he was sharing the video to...
Wait, so she has given birth about 4 times. She doesn't know the difference between what porn looks like and what giving birth looks like? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
This stuff. As if Miss Lively was weird for not welcoming it. Miss Lively and her assistant excused themselves, stunned that Mr. Heath had shown them a nude video. So when that was transcribed by the New York Times, they kind of made it sound like he literally was just showing her pornographic images. And they didn't kind of give you the context that actually what they were debating was how they should film a birthing scene that Blake Lively was in. And he was trying to say, and I guess in this, I have not seen the film, but it's a natural labor, no drugs. And as you know, for us crunchy moms who follow this on the internet, this is like supposed to be this majestic moment. Women tend to be in a bathtub, they tend to be nude. And I guess he was trying to say to her, like, this is how I want this scene to run.
Yeah.
And she's now telling the public that essentially she thought that she was being shown pornography on a phone. And I have to say, in the myriad of topics, in the myriad of categories, or rather, of pornography.
Okay, guys, I don't think Blake Lively is a full shilling. How can you mistake pornography with giving birth? Definitely not a full shilling.
We do the annual list of the top 5 things people are searching for on Pornhub to show you how disturbing it is. Never in my life have I heard of a category of women giving birth. That doesn't tend to be a thing that turns men on, that they would describe as pornographic, right? That doesn't tend to be something that you hear. In fact, it's almost the opposite when you get...
Do you know what? That'd be a special kind of pervert would get, like, would get turned on by a woman giving birth. I mean, hopefully they don't exist. Oh my goodness.
Young men who are completely immature and are like, that's my worst nightmare, the idea of my wife giving birth or of a woman giving birth, And so I just felt that was wildly manipulative. The lawsuit goes on to allege, the civil complaint goes on to allege that there was also this sort of sexualization in terms of her breastfeeding, or at least that's what you get when they say that the disturbing conduct allegedly continued while filming, with Lively accusing Baldoni and Heath of entering her trailer uninvited while she was undressed or vulnerable, including when she was breastfeeding her infant child, the complaint alleges. The complaint further states that Baldoni improvised physical intimacy that had not been rehearsed, choreographed, or discussed with Miss Lively, with no intimacy coordinator involved. So there's supposed to be a person there while you are shooting these intimate scenes that says,
okay, that is so weird. Guys, I'm an actress and I've done a lot of those scenes, those intimate scenes, and you can't choreograph every move, sometimes it's just spontaneous, and you kind of do it to make the scene look better as well. It's got absolutely nothing to do with you. It's about the character that you're playing and making the scene and telling the story. So I don't know, this girl is, my goodness, this is a special kind of Karen.
Making sure that everybody's comfortable, and that person was not there. And this is where she gets into a bit of a contradiction when I read through the lawsuit, because she is all at once trying to tell us that she's maybe so irresistibly hot, or maybe she's not so hot, but he thinks she's enough, that he wants to be with her, that he's using scenes to improvise and to kiss her too long, and obviously he is doing this because he's just addicted to pornography. She talks about him speaking about his pornography addiction in the past, and the lawsuit literally reads, Mr. Baldoni chose to let the camera roll and have them perform a scene, but he did not act in character. Instead, he spoke to Miss Lively out of character as himself. At one point, he leaned forward and slowly dragged his lips from her ear and down her neck as he said, "It smells so good." None of this was done remotely in character.
Okay. How does she know that he was out of character? I mean, for me, that is still within the scene. It's not like they were filming doing gardening and then he suddenly just went to her neck and said, it was all part of the scene. And sometimes you can kind of lose yourself in the scene. I'm obviously not saying that anyone should do anything that makes someone uncomfortable, but I'm just saying, for me as an actress, that's normally what you do. You get so into the character, and one of the big things about acting is not to think, just react and get into the scene. So
on any dialogue in the script, and nothing needed to be said because, again, there was no sound. Mr. Baldoni was caressing Mr. Lively with his mouth in a way that had nothing to do with their roles. But Miss Lively later objected to this behavior. Mr. Baldoni's response was, "I'm not even attracted to you." Okay. So she's like, he's creepy, he's attracted to you. But then she completely flips later on in the lawsuit, where she says that he made her feel ugly, old, and fat, that he stormed into her room and it was with tears in his eyes, and said that people on the internet think that she looks old and that she looks fat. And so she goes on to also accuse him of harassment for going to her trainer and asking if she can lose weight in 2 weeks.
What is it? Is he so incredibly in love with her and so sexually attracted to her? Or does he find her old and disgusting? Which one is it? I don't understand. I'm lost.
He degraded Miss Lively for finding back-channel ways of criticizing her body and weight. A few weeks before filming began, and less than 4 months after Miss Lively had given birth to her 4th child, Miss Lively was humiliated to learn that Mr. Baldoni secretly called her fitness trainer without her knowledge or permission and implied that he wanted her to lose weight within 2 weeks. So which is it? So I'm just saying, this is me reading the lawsuit. I'm like, okay, so is he wants to breathe on you and kiss you and caress you because you're so hot, or he's just such a freak, or also is he just disgusted by you and making you feel old and ugly and fat? I mean, I have some instant red flags when I read this lawsuit, but it was this last piece that made me go, okay, you are being wildly manipulative, and I am now ready for this to all come out in court, okay?
Yes, me too.
This is the exact language of the lawsuit. It reads, Mr. Baldoni inserted improvised, gratuitous, sexual content and or scenes involving nudity into the film, including for an underage character in highly unsettling ways. So I read that and I'm like, okay, now we're inching towards, this guy, even young girls, underage character, he's doing this even to young women on set. And then I read the comments that were beneath this article, and someone pointed out to me that was manipulative language, because while it says underage character, okay, the actress that played the underage character is not underage at all. So the protagonist of this film, it used to be a book, it's been adapted into a film.
Yeah, even using the words inserted. It kind of sounds like a dirty word, doesn't it? Just me? No.
So Blake Lively plays the older Lily Bloom, and another actress plays the younger Lily Bloom. So that's the underage character, which is played by Isabella Ferrer. But Isabella Ferrer is 23 years old. So just by putting that in the lawsuit and knowing that not everybody has seen this film, not everybody has read the book, and even if they have, they don't know how old Isabella Ferrer is, it was a way to make it sound like Justin Baldoni, again, was this huge creep. And when I found that out, I said, okay, she's playing a very interesting game. There was also weird lawsuit moments where she also said that she felt anxiety because he told her that he could speak to dead people, and that he could reach her father, and her father had recently died. That part's just weird. I don't know. Hollywood people they just have too much. I mean, I don't even know what to say to that. It's a weird thing to put in a lawsuit.
Maybe he just meant that he's like maybe an empath, or he feels energy or stuff like that. Because I like, okay, let me shut up about what I've done.
She's trying to compound and be like, I was just a mess and I was so uncomfortable. Anyways, like I said, initially the Hollywood public took her side. But I think everybody is still a little PTSD from the Amber Heard turd, and they're going, okay, I'm just going to wait and actually see how this thing plays out. And it's a good thing that they did, okay? Because then Justin Baldoni responded in a very big way to this lawsuit. 11 days later, on December 31st, Justin Baldoni filed a $250 million lawsuit, okay, against the New York Times for libel.
Yes.
Let me tell you, he fully brought some receipts by releasing personal text messages between him and Blake Lively that painted an entirely different picture.
Very good.
And he basically is saying the New York Times intentionally picked and chose certain emails without providing their full context. Like in one email, she's trying to say that they inserted and planted this article which said that her career was over, but they left out the portions of the email.
This is so almost very similar to the Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing, and she is so out to get him. I forgot what I wanted to say. Oh yeah, this does not sound like a man who's guilty. This sounds like a man who wants to prove that he's innocent by giving all the emails and receipts and stuff to the world. Does that sound like someone who's guilty to you? No. This sounds like how Johnny Depp handled this thing, and I think Baldoni is gonna win. Gonna get nasty, but I think he's gonna come out okay.
And that what actually happened was that he hired a PR crisis team because Blake Lively was being such a monster and dropping these things in the press. And so they were planning to go to battle if she kept going, but they never actually ended up having to go to battle because the public ended up hating her based on her old interviews, and they have proof that they had nothing to do with that article happening, and so they were just laughing behind the scenes at like, oh well, I guess I did a great job here because we don't have to do anything. People are seeing through Blake Lively all by themselves.
Yeah.
And we haven't actually had to counter anything that she said. Also countering another allegation that he was actually invited into Blake Lively's trailer. He dropped the text message receipts while she was breastfeeding. He attached a screenshot of a conversation in which she said to him, "I'm pumping in my trailer if you want to work out our line." He responded to her, "Copy, eating with the crew, and I will head that way."
Oh,
So
goodness,
if you signal
this
to
girl.
someone, and by the way, for every woman it's different. I've seen women that are out in public and will just pop out both of their breasts and feed their twins like in the middle of a restaurant. They don't care, okay? Other people, obviously I have worked through, now this is going to be a fourth child, and when I am in my room, back when I was working at Daily Wire and I was breastfeeding my son, if he was latched and I could throw a blanket over myself, I didn't care. I would like to prep the show. Some women might be completely different. They might want to be completely alone. But if you're signaling to your co-star that it's okay to come in the trailer while you're pumping or breastfeeding, why is he going to then understand that on a different occasion you're actually completely uncomfortable with him doing that?
Yeah.
And so to misrepresent that relationship.
But she knows that those things are in the texts, and she's still going ahead with this? Is there something not working okay here? There's literally evidence of you telling him to come while you're pumping or whatever and stuff. So this is very weird, very strange.
I think is what has Justin Baldoni's team extremely upset. They also obviously came back regarding the birthing pornography and called the video rather a deeply personal one with no sexual overtone, obviously. And they said that her trying to frame that video of the director's wife as pornography is emblematic of the lengths to which Lively and her collaborators are willing to go to defame the plaintiffs. I tend to agree with that. Like I said, I've never heard of someone describing a birthing video, a woman giving birth, as
weird.
Pornography. That seems completely ridiculous. And I want to show you these clips because they are hitting back hard. And I'll tell you this. After the public then kept saying, why did you not file an actual lawsuit? This was a sinister PR move. Blake Lively then moved 11 days later to file a lawsuit. So now she has filed a lawsuit. And I don't think she ever wanted to do this. I think she genuinely wanted this to be a PR move, and she wanted to leak it to the New York Times. She thought the public would take her side with no questions asked. And
She thought we'd go, oh, Blake, we were so wrong about you. Baldoni is a creep. We forgive you. So sorry. No, baby. No.
Here. And Justin Baldoni is going all the way to the wall on this. His lawyer is already giving interviews explaining just how nasty her team has played this. The lawyer's name is Brian Friedman. He stopped by the Megyn Kelly show, and here's some of the things that he had to say. First, he says there used to never be a sexual claim. There never was a sexual claim until she went to that civil rights office. Take a listen.
There was actually no allegation of sexual harassment until the lawsuit was filed. I mean, that's when the allegations of sexual harassment came up. They didn't come up before then.
Well, it was in the 17-point memo that you referenced. She was raising some of these issues.
Well, that's right. But I mean, in terms of the public, she raised them in the 17-point memo. They had agreed to 17 points that they would agree, that there were simple points, that everybody would go back and she would return to work. There's a signed document saying they worked things out. In the actual lawsuit itself, it says everything went fine from then on. So, you know, and the question really is, why was Crisis PR brought in? Crisis PR was brought in because there were negative stories about Justin that were being leaked to the media, not about sexual harassment. There were negative stories about Justin being brought in saying no one likes him. He's been a problem on set. You know, stories like that. And Crisis PR was brought in to say, this won't be good for the film. Crisis PR was also brought in because there were negative stories about Blake Lively, not that Justin created, but that existed out there. I mean, you know, fans and media can be brutal. They go back through your history. They go back and look and say, what interviews have you given before?
Yeah.
How have you treated people? How, are you promoting the film in a way where you're promoting your hair care products and in a way that's not true and genuine as far as domestic violence is concerned? They go back and they see those videos. They bring them out organically. That's not Justin doing that. That's not Justin's crisis PR doing it. In fact, what he wants is a successful movie. He wants to protect the movie, and all through the text messages you'll see over and over and over again him saying, I don't want to hurt her. I want to protect her. Let's give her what she wants.
Yeah.
Let's help her. That's what he's doing.
And I can say that's what I also found problematic, and you should actually go watch that entire interview that he gave to Megyn Kelly, but they left out some very crucial vindicating text messages with Justin Baldoni being concerned about not wanting to hurt her, but also trying to protect himself when he saw that he was being smeared as this person. Now, I don't know if Justin Baldoni is a good guy. I am sure, listen, you know, I respect him in Hollywood. I think the majority of people that are in Hollywood are not great people. But after reading through the messages that were in context, there is no question in my mind that the New York Times is going to be in very big trouble for libeling, intentionally libeling. Very easy emails that they could have presented to the public that showed that the PR people were joking and laughing about the fact that this was happening to her because they view her to be a bad person, but they were not planting these articles in any way, shape, or form. And when you remove that context and try to make it sound like Justin was involved in that, and not that he simply said, I want to protect myself, I don't want to hurt her, but I want to protect myself, it's just bad business. And again, who leaked it? Who leaked within 24 hours? The New York Times being able to have something to the entire public. It could have only been one person. Obviously, it had to have come
with
from
Amber.
Blake Lively's orbit. That's my view of it. I will also show you why I do believe, and I'm making a guess here, people were very anti me when I said Amber Heard was going to lose. I just have a way about reading women when it comes to these sorts of things. And I knew that Amber Heard was not being entirely honest about the Johnny Depp stuff. And everyone was like, oh, she's got a bruise on her cheek. I just said, doesn't register me as correct. He's been married so long. His wife, Vanessa, former ex-wife, Vanessa Paradis, was coming out in support of him. Despite having a long marriage, wouldn't she have recognized that he liked to punch women in the face? Everything just registered to me as very wrong about that. And in the end, I was proving right. I'm going to say the same thing about Blake Lively. I don't think this is going to be good for her. And this lawyer's language in terms of saying when people see all the text messages, they're going to realize who the real Blake Lively is a strong vote for me. A strong vote that the public in the end is going to recognize that Blake Lively was being manipulative.
Yes.
And I'll let you listen to what Brian said about those text messages.
And unlike any case that I've handled in my entire career, it's the one case we're going to put every single text message, every single document, everything on a website for everyone in the public to read, come to their own conclusions, and they can determine whether or not there was sexual harassment here, there was a smear campaign, or there was retaliation, because we have proof and receipts that absolutely and unequivocally show this is not true.
Good.
Here's what I think happened. I think Blake Lively legitimately did not believe. I think when she had all that bad press happening, she could not fathom that people didn't like her. I think she truly believed that Justin Baldoni was behind it. I don't think she did this to create a narrative. I think she saw it and said, this has to be him. This has to be him. And unfortunately, I think she was wrong.
Yes.
Okay. And so I think to counter that bad PR, and she saw her reputation.
I think this whole thing is going to backfire so badly for Blake. It's actually, everyone can see it except for her and her husband, apparently.
Going down, she decided to play what she thought was an equally nasty PR game by filing this lawsuit in the civil rights court, never with the intention of ever having to then take it to the real courts. I don't think that she ever wanted that. Unfortunately, she was wrong. She filed it, and the public then said, wait a second, are you playing a PR game rather than Justin Baldoni? And now she had to back that up by really filing it in court. And what's going to happen is now the entire public is going to see what happened, who was leaking stuff to who. And like I said, my money is on Blake Lively being wrong. I think she is 100% wrong. It doesn't make him a good guy. Doesn't make Justin Baldoni a great guy. Please do not think I'm a Justin Baldoni stan. I know nothing about him, and I hate 90% of Hollywood. But in this circumstance, I just think he's going to win the lawsuit. And I think New York Times, based on what I have seen of what I would describe as doctored correspondences, doctoring it by not giving people the full correspondences, is going to end up having to settle this lawsuit and paying Justin Baldoni, as well as the PR women that are listed in this lawsuit, paying them out for misrepresenting what they actually said. That's my take. You can agree with it, you can not agree with it. Can't wait to see what your comments are.
Wow, that was amazing. What do you guys think? I am on Team Baldoni. Just based on the characters I've seen and all the horrible interviews and stuff that I've seen of hers before, I think Baldoni's going to win. Who do you guys think is going to win? Okay, so that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.